Yo, what up guys? Welcome back. Okay, so in the last part of the video, we were doing the design of our sign up form, and also we did some minor configurations within IntelliJ to get our sign up form working and stuff. So what I want to do within this part of the video is to start with the validations of the form. So now if you click on sign up, it doesn't actually do anything at the more present moment, but that's what I want to work on in this video, where we are going to do the validations, and then what's going to happen is that right below this particular form over here, I want to display some error messages. And then the other thing is that I want all these forms, whichever form, let's say for example, all these forms need to be, all these fields, apologies, all these fields need to be filled in. And then if there's a field that hasn't been or doesn't meet the criteria, I want it to show a red border around it. So that's what I want to do within this part of the video. So so now I'm gonna come back here within IntelliJ. I need to start the server, obviously, and then there's a couple of things we need to do first. So I'm gonna come first here within the helpers, and then I'm gonna create another package. So I'm gonna call this one validations, right? And then I'm gonna create another one, and then this one I'm just gonna call this one general. Alright, so all validation related classes that we're gonna create are gonna go within this folder here, and then all the other general classes that we're gonna create as helpers are gonna go within here. So let's start with this one. I want to create a class called general string helper. So within this class, we're only going to create two methods. One of them is just going to create a general or random string that we can use as a token or as a validation token and so forth. So let me quickly do this. This one I'm going to call it general generate let me just call this random token string. I know the wording is long, but yeah. So now let me just do this. Then I'm going to say return token. Alright, so what I want to do is there is this method that we can use to generate a random token string. So so let's do this. UUID dot random UUID, and then we're gonna say dot toString, right? In fact, I don't think we even need to do it this way. Let me cut this out, right? Let me move that and just return it here directly. So this method is just gonna generate a random token string that we can use in various ways. So let me say end of okay, so the next method that I want to create, oh by the way, these are all going to be public what you call it, static methods, so we don't need to instantiate this class every time we want to use these methods. So I'm going to say public static. So this method that I'm going to create now is a regular expression type of method that I want to use to validate emails. So let me just say regex say email. By the way, you can name it whatever you want. I'm just naming it in a way in which makes sense to me. Alright, so I'm gonna copy and paste this into um, oh, by the way, I actually made this the wrong thing. It's supposed to be a boolean. So I'm gonna copy and paste the code into this method. To be honest with you, I don't remember everything by off the head, so I'm just gonna copy and paste it. So by the way, this is gonna take in an email. And so this expression here, let me just close this window. This expression here basically just looks at the email that the user is inputting, and it's just gonna validate to see if it matches the regular patterns of an email. You know, there's an @ sign obviously, but the email has to be in a particular format, and before the @ sign, and then after the @ sign it has to be in a particular format. So this expression here is basically just looking to see is just basically setting the format that we want in terms of what the email is supposed to be. And then here we're just using a method that comes basically with the string object that you can use to match, or what you call it, to see if it matches this particular expression here. So this email that we're taking in as an input, we use the method matches to see if it matches this regular expression that we're setting up here. If it does, we return true. If it doesn't, it returns false. And then this is what we're going to use to validate the user email. Alright, so we're done with that one. So the next thing I want to do is, in here within the validations, I want to create a method called sign up validation helper. So you don't have to name it like that, like I said. I'm just naming it the way it makes sense to me. Right, so I'm gonna call it sign up validation helper. Okay. So now there's a couple of things, right? We need the first name, last name, email, password, and the confirm password. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields. So that's what we're gonna create within here. So I'll say string. It's gonna be first name, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Then we're gonna change this to last name. So those are the 5 fields, but we also need to create another an object here, which we are going to use to basically store our errors. So that's going to come in the form of a hash map. So I'm going to say private final hash map, and then it's only going to take in a string, and a string as the key, string as a value. Then I'm going to name this errors. So I'm not going to instantiate this for now. Yeah, right. so I'm not gonna extensiate that for now. So let's create our constructor first. So I'm gonna come here and say generate, and then let's do a constructor. Gonna generate. Well, we don't need the hash map. As soon as it's instantiated, we will add that afterwards. So here I'm gonna say, and then here I'm gonna say errors equals to new. And that's it. Right. So so just to clarify, we've added all the objects. We've added all the other objects except the what you call it, um, except for the errors property that we've added here. As you can see, it's confirm password, email, last name, and first name. Don't add the hash map. We don't need to do that. We just need to make sure we instantiate it here, because here, after here, this is where we're going to add all the validation methods that we're going to use. Alright, so let me first start with the easy part, of which so down here we're just going to place our getters and setters. And then we're going to just come and generate them down here. So getter and setters. For now, don't select the errors one, because for that one we just need to, for that one all we need to do is just set one thing for it. It's the getter method. No, sorry, we just need the getter method for the errors one, and that's it. Okay, so let's put all the validation methods up here. Just gonna copy this. Alright, so here we're gonna create all our validation methods. So it's only gonna be about, at the very least, 3 of them. So so here we're gonna say let's see, public. Let me just create them first, and then we're gonna say void um, so within this one we're gonna check to see if any of the fields that are required are empty, and then if they are, basically if they are, we're gonna set the error message within here. So but we will get to that. Let's create the other one as well, public. So here we're gonna check if the passwords match. So basically, remember, we have the password and confirm field. So here we're gonna check to see if the 2 passwords match or not, and then this is the method that we're gonna use to do that. And then the last one is to check and see if our email is valid. Okay, if I didn't explain earlier on, like I said, within this project we're just gonna do our own validations. It's nothing heavy, but I just want to do our own ones. You can add what you call it, dependencies to use Spring validations, but then that would require changing the form to Spring tags and whatnot, and so I just wanted to avoid that. I know it's much easier, but we can still do the same thing with, we can still do our own thing. So let's see, check. Okay. Okay, so let's start with this one. It's the easiest one. All we have to do is to check if that particular um, property is empty or not, and then to see if it's null, and then we set the error. So let's start with the email. So we're just gonna have a bunch of if statements within here and then set the error. So I'm gonna say if, so we can say this dot get first name, right, dot is empty, or I know this probably does the same thing, but you know, just adding an extra layer there, right? So all we have to do is say errors dot put. So the key, I'm gonna name it exactly as the what you call it, as the property. So I'm gonna say first name, and then the value is going to be um, and that's basically it, right? So I'm just checking, I'm just getting the name to see if the name property field is empty. If it is, or if it is null, just set the error first name empty. First name cannot be empty. You can name it, you can set the error message as you want. So basically this is a key, and then this is the error message that we're setting, and which is the error message that we're going to display on the front end. Now I'm basically going to be doing the same thing. For example, with the first name, we're doing the same thing. Get sorry, not first name, last name, right? Get last name, and then here we're gonna say, and then we're just gonna say last name. Last name field cannot be empty. So I'm gonna pause the video. I'm just gonna add the other three fields. Actually, you know what, let me just see if I can just quickly do this, because it's practically doing the same thing, right? So this one is gonna be get email, right? And then we're just gonna call it email. Email field cannot be empty, and then we're gonna say password, right? And then this one is going to be get confirm, right? So this is the email field cannot be empty. This is the password field cannot be empty. All right. So before we move on to these ones, the first thing I want to do is check to see if this is working, and then basically we can test with just this method to see if everything is in order. So we got the first name, we got the last name, we got the email, we got the password, we got the confirm field, and then we also have the error messages set. So again, we're just checking to see if these names, if these properties are empty or not, and if they are, set the error message. Now what we're gonna now do is call this field, call this method within our within our constructor, just below the. You can put it anywhere. It's just for for what you call it, just to be neat. We're just gonna put it just below here. So here we're gonna say check for empty fields, and that's it. So in the controller, when we call this method, it's basically gonna instantiate our errors, and then it's also gonna just also initiate that method. Alright, so now before we get, like I said, to these two methods, we will get to them now. Let's just test out to see if this will work. So now what we need to do is we need to come into the controller, right? So here we are getting our registration page, and then below there we're gonna set up our post mapping URI. So this is gonna have the same name, sign up, and then here we're gonna do the same thing, public model in view. Here we're just gonna call it sign up. So obviously we need the fields, so here we're gonna say add request param. So we're gonna call it first name. Okay, just a heads up, the name here needs to be the same as what we have within our sign up field. So ours is first name first underscore name. So let me just copy that, just make sure you have it the same way, and then obviously from here we can name it whatever, first name. We can say first name. Alright, so I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna paste it 5 more times. Alright, this one, two, three, four, five. Okay, so here, what's the last name? Right, last name. This is obviously gonna be email, and then this is gonna be password definitely, and then confirm. Again, just to be sure, let's see. So we have email, one word, password, one word, confirm, one word. Alright, let's see. Email, one word, password, one word, and then confirm also one word. So here we can just say last name, this one, email, password, confirm. Just remove the comma there. Alright, so what else? So there's a couple of things we're gonna need to do in here. Okay, so what we need to do here is to right, and then from there we're gonna okay. So in a nutshell, that's what we're gonna be doing. Where's the formatting now? Effed up. Okay, so what do we need to do? So now let's call our sign up validation method here. I'm gonna say validation helper. I'm just gonna call it validate equal to so we're gonna have the first name here, last name, email, password, confirm. Right, let me just close this, and then hopefully you guys can see better now. Alright, so now here, because we have this validation initialized, now we need to just check for certain things. So we're gonna say if, so remember within our sign up validation we have this errors hash map set up, and then here we setting up the error messages within that hash map. And then the simplest thing we can do now is to check and see validate dot get errors, and then we're gonna check to see if it is not empty. So to do that, we just have to put an exclamation mark here, and then basically what we're saying is that check and see if the errors object is empty. If it is not empty, then we're gonna do whatever actions we need to do here. Okay, so here, so what we're gonna do is here we have a model and view. We have to return a model and view, and then I've set up this model and view object over here. And then as you can see, when we enter into, let's say for example, this get method, we initialize it here, and then we set whatever objects we need to set, and that's pretty much it. So here we're gonna do the same thing. We are gonna say we're gonna say this dot page, which is the model and view object we're setting up. We have up there, it's gonna equal to new model and view. We're gonna call this sign up, and then remember the reason we're calling this is because we want to return to the sign up page, which is this one here, and display the error messages. So that's why we say the view is going to be sign up, so we're going to return to this page and then display the errors. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get this dot we call it page, and then we're going to say add object. Now I'm going to call this form errors. Right, now I'm going to pretty much do this for every time we have a list of errors. I'm going to always name them form errors. So within our string helper, we could have created an what you call it, some fields here where we always gonna name, we're gonna name them the same. We're gonna name them, we're gonna use this form error name everywhere we go. So I want to basically set this up within our general string helper here. So I'm gonna say private string, which is gonna equal to form errors, which is gonna equal to form errors. Right, I'm gonna name it this. Right, and then in each and every page there's always going to be some sort of a success or error message. So I'm going to do the same thing here as well. So I'm going to say private string success, which is going to be equal to success. Right, and then there's always going to be one singular error that we will always display in each and every page, and then I'm going to say error, which is equal to error. So now so let me just add getters and setters in here. just leave the methods like this. I'm just gonna make them private. Sorry, public. Right. So what I actually wanted to do was this general string helper dot. Sorry, I didn't make the. It's supposed to be form errors. Sorry, forgot to make this static. Right, and then what do I need? Okay, I say validate dot get errors. Right, so this will make sense in what you call it. This part here will make sense shortly. So everywhere I'm going to have a list of errors. I'm always going to name them form errors. And so the reason I did this way is so that the name will stay. In fact, I even have to do it this way. Public static final, so that it doesn't change. You get what I'm saying? So let's even change that. Right, so it's always going to be this. So here we just need to change that to capital letters. Form errors. Alright, so everywhere I'm going to display errors, I'm always going to name it this. So that's why I put it within this one. I put it within the string helper so that I can gain access to this name wherever, globally and stuff. So okay, so the reason I'm doing this is because at the top of each page from now on, there's a file that we're going to include here that we're gonna use to display our error messages. So why is this still showing an error? What's that? Oh yeah, I forgot. I need to return this dot page. Right. Obviously we still need to continue with this, but yeah, let's continue. So I will show you now. We're gonna display some errors, and so at each and every page that we're gonna work on, well, except for the index page, we're gonna be displaying we're gonna be using this form errors name to display our errors. I will show you now. So what we need to do, so that I'm making sense, I'm gonna create a file in here. I'm gonna call it notifications.jsp. Right, now the first thing I want to do is I want to copy this, place it at the top. This is definitely needed within this file. Alright, so now the first thing I want us to do is, for example, display message, right? Alright, so there's a object that we can access with this core tag that we can use to test certain things. So for example, we're gonna say C and then if, right, we're gonna say test equals to So remember that that expression that comes with the JSP object. So we're gonna use that here within this if block. So we're gonna call it. We're gonna call the $sign. Then we have the brackets. Then we're gonna say request scope, right? Dot error, right? And then we're gonna check to see if it is null. Again, I'll explain this shortly. Then we're gonna say we need to close off the tag, and then that's pretty much it there. So this is kind of like a if block, similar to what we see up here in this section here, right? So the request scope basically, so for example here we've set up form errors instead of error. I haven't done this one yet because I want to show you this one. Because it's a list of errors, there's something else that we need to do. But whenever we have a page where we want to display, maybe let's say a singular error, we can say something like error, right? And then set that error name here, and then we basically can access that. This object basically sets a request object. So when we redirect to whatever page like we are doing here, we will have access to that object using that very same name that we set up, like the word error. And then here we're gonna say request scope and then dot error. This error that we are accessing is what we named here, is basically what we named within this object. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So because you remember this is the name, we're just setting it globally so we can access it everywhere. But basically error is what we are accessing here. That name is what we're accessing here, and we are setting that name as a key to a certain value, which is, right now we're getting a list of errors, but we can easily say something like get, or we can easily put in a custom string here. Instead of validate, we can put in something like some error, and then basically this object, we are accessing it here, and then obviously we will be displaying it somewhere within this if block, but we will get to that one. Let me just return this to how it was before. Okay, so now what we can do is we're gonna just use some normal HTML tags. Right, so now I'm going to use some Bootstrap classes just to set up the what you call it, the CSS. So I'm going to say bg danger, and then the other class is going to be text center, and then the other one is going to be text white. We're going to say rounded 3, and then p, basically that's padding 3, right? So now before I add anything, I just have to say, now all I have to do is call that expression again. Then I'm going to say request scope dot error, right? And then for the success message, we're going to do the same thing. Instead of error, we're going to say success, and then here we're going to say success. All right, so this needs to change to success, and that's it. So whenever we create a success message, it will be displayed within this if block here, and then it'll just look nice because we're using CSS classes, or what you call it, Bootstrap classes and stuff. Okay, so now for this one, I'm gonna copy and paste because I always make mistakes when I try and set this up. But let me show you. you know what, let me just show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like. So basically we're doing the same thing. We're testing to see if the form errors, which is what we set up here currently, right, if it is empty. If it's not empty, if it's not null, obviously, then we're gonna show that error message. The error message is here within this div. So let me so here we're gonna loop through, because here within our validations we're getting a list of errors. Remember, the hash map is basically like an array of items. It's an array of items. Where's our validation? Sorry. We're basically it's basically like an array. The only difference is that it's a key value pair type of array, right? Where we use the key to access the particular error that we're looking for, right? So in this case, let's say we want to see that the first name, and then so we're gonna access this value using the key that's set. So here within the notifications, that's what we're doing. This is a for each block, for each type of what you call it, loop. So we are saying for each request form, for each request.scope. So these are the items basically we're getting in this for each. We're getting the items here, which is the form errors again, which is what we set up here, the list of errors, and then we're just setting the what you call it, the value to form error, and then here we just loop through that error and we are getting the value. So now let me just retype this out so that we are all on the same page, right? So again, we're doing the simple thing, the same thing, C, and then if, right, and then we say test, we say if request scope, sorry, I need to put that within, actually let me just form underscore errors, right, is not equal to null. So that's the first thing we need to do. I need to put that within quotes, right, and we close that off. Okay, so now let's first put a div between. I'm going to copy that part and then paste it here. I'm going to remove this. So now, I need to copy this one, because this is going to show us give us a nice red background with some white text. Okay, so now this is where within this div we are going to put our for each loop within this div here. So it's going to have a red background and the text is going to be overall white. It's going to be centered. In fact, I don't think it needs to be centered because it's going to look weird. So I'm going to remove the text center part, right? And then here we're going to put in our for each loop. Okay, so we're going to say C. Again, we're going to say C. And then we say for each, right? And then the items are basically the items is going to be this. We're going to say request scope. Right, we can remove this part here. So these are the items, which is this value here, the validate.get errors. This is a list of errors that we are accessing here within this part, and then we have to say var equals to form error. So this is just the value. This is so basically all the list of items that we are looping through here is going to set each and every one of them to one singular value, right? And that's it.
All right, so within this for loop, I'm going to create another if block, right? So now let's move this div here. All right, so within the for loop, we have another if block, right? So, but what we're checking is, instead of the request, we're going to say form error, right? Form error, right? Dot value. So now this dot value that we're getting here, this is method that's within the, I'll show you. So remember, this is the hash map, right? So this hash map has a number of what you call it, methods within it. That hash map object, I mean. So we're gonna say, let's say we say this dot errors, right? So we're gonna say dot, and then as you can see, it has a number of methods that comes with it. So this values that we see here, this dot value here, is basically this method over here. But because we think we are in a JSP file, we don't put the brackets, but it's basically the exact same thing. We're just getting the value, right? Okay, so the dot values basically gets us this value here. So here we're putting the value. The name of it is first name, and then the value is key. The value here is last name, and then the value here, the key here is first name. The value is first name field cannot be empty, correct? So with this errors dot value method, we're basically getting all the values that was set here without the key names. So all that method is doing is getting all these values. And so within this if block, that's what we're basically doing. We're just checking to see if that value is not null, right? Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna just show it as a list. Okay, and then here we're gonna use the expression here. We're just gonna use this expression to show it. I'm just removing that null thing. So here we're just gonna show that list of errors. So again, we're just getting the value, not the key and value. We're just getting the value, right? So this is the if block that we're going to use to loop through various errors, like we are doing. Let me just remove this. Like what we are doing, like the list of errors that we're getting here. So now what I need to do is return to the sign up page. Alright, so the other thing that we need to do now is come into the sign up page, right? Now we have this notification. Like I said, we're going to use this page everywhere where we have a form that we need to validate. And so we're going to set the names to the exact same: success, error, whatever. We're going to use this form to display this file to display our messages and stuff. So at the top, we need to just copy this part here, alright? And then I'm going to paste that there, and then instead of header, I'm just going to call this notifications. Alright, so we have now access to our methods and objects here to display our error messages at the top. So now let's see. So it looks like where I've put this file, the error messages are going to pop up at the top here above the sign up message. We're just going to work with that for now. If it doesn't look nice, we will then change where it's going to be located, but for now it's going to show up here. Alright, the one last thing I need us to do is we're going to test with one particular field, which is, let's say, the first name. Like I said, I wanted to show a red border here, right? But then now if you look at the design of the page, if you look at the design of the form field, I mean, here we are setting a border to be 0. That's why there's no border showing here. It's just the background of the input field, and that's basically it. So now that's going to be a bit of a problem if we want to show the red border. So there's two things we need to do using JavaScript, and then basically we're going to remove the class and then add another class in order for the border for the red border to show, right? So just below this part here, right? Now just make sure at the top here you also have that core tag, what you call it, tag lib showing at copied at the top, because we're going to use those core tags, similar core tags that we used here but within our sign up page. So what are we doing here? So here we're going to do the same thing, C if, and then we say test, right? So now what we're doing is we're going to use the expression, and then what are we checking? We are checking this validate.get errors, right? So we're going to say request scope dot oh no, sorry, I don't actually need to do it this way. It has to be form underscore errors. So remember, this is set to a hash map type of object, and then what we need to do is check for the first name, right? So the validation is the first name can't be empty, and then here within this page we're just checking that particular object. So we're going to say form errors dot contains key, right? And then what is the key? The key, we named it first name like this, right? And so that's what we're going to be checking for. So we're checking to see if I'm gonna have to change this now, right? We're checking to see if the forms errors hash map, again, which is this hash map over here, right? We're checking to see if it contains this key called first name, right? And if it does, then we're gonna do some actions here. I need to close this off. Okay, so now we need to do some JavaScript, right? So we have to open up some script tags here. Alright, so now that we have this, we need to access this input field, right? So again, we're checking to see if this way. So if, let's say, the form field is not empty, obviously when the application comes into this if block, it will not set this this value. It will only do that if the field is empty, and if it's not, if it is, it'll set this value. But if it is not empty, it won't come to this part. It's just gonna skip this section here. What did I do now? What did I do just now? Errors if this. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that, but in any case, so it's gonna come to that part, and then if that value is set, this will return true, of which then now it'll come into this this JavaScript block here. And then now what we can do is say document dot get element by ID. So what's the ID of the first name field? This is the ID, but let's change that to first name. Right, we're gonna change the ID to first name. If yours is showing another name, like for example here, floating input, just change it to first name. All right, and then we're gonna say we're gonna put it here, first name. So now, like I said, there's two things. We need to first remove this border and then add another border. So how we're gonna do that is we're gonna say dot class list, and then we're going to say dot remove. We have to remove it first, and then what's the class we want to remove? It is this border dot zero, right? And then we can close it off. Let's do the same thing. Now for the form field to show, we get the same ID, the same input field, which with the ID of first name, and then this time instead of remove we say add. Right, and then I'm gonna add basically a I'm gonna do this is invalid. So you can add a number of classes here, and then I'm gonna say border, and then I want the border, right? I want the border to be alright. So just to recap, we're checking to see if the forms errors object contains a key called first name, which is the value that we've set here within our validation class. And if it does, what do we need to do next? If it does contain that, we are going to remove this zero border here, and then we're going to add two more classes. We're going to remove this class, and then we're going to add three more classes, which is these ones. And then what this is going to do, this JavaScript, what it's going to do is it's getting this form input field, and what it's going to do is it's going to change the border of this field to, it's going to give us a red border, and then it should also show other error messages here. So another thing we need to do, we need to configure this button here so that we can submit the form. So again, let's go back to our form, and then within our sign up controller we had this as our action, right? We're going to paste that there. We need to also add the method, right, which is going to be post. Okay, so let's see, we have that action sign up, which is what we have here. And then because that form field is going to be empty, it's going to come to this block. It's going to set the values obviously, and then it's going to come to this block, and then and then set the error, and then we're going to see it at the front end. So I hope everything is in order. If not, we will fix it. So let's run the project. Alright, let me refresh. If nothing goes wrong, that means everything is fine. Alright, so if I click sign up, as you can see, our border is now showing, right? But somehow our message is not showing up here. What did we do wrong? So let me see. So when we return, we say form errors, which is form errors, right? Okay, then let's go to our notifications. Form errors, that should be fine. Form errors, that also should be fine. Right. If it's not now, form error dot value. Okay, form errors. Okay, so why is this not showing at the top? Notifications.jsp includes notifications.jsp. is there? Notifications. So why is it not showing our error messages here? Sorry guys, I'm just checking to see what we did wrong, or what I did wrong. Oh, okay. Apologies. So I put the dollar sign in the wrong place. Even here, I think I did the same thing. Okay. Everything else I think should be fine. I'm gonna stop and rerun the server. Okay. Okay, I'm rerunning the server. Then as soon as it's up, we will test again. Refresh. Okay, so our page is now showing our error messages. So I just want to try again. So I'm going to say sign up. So we get our error messages here, and then we get our red border. Alright, so I'm going to pause the video. I'm basically going to be doing the exact same thing that I did here using this if block. You can pause the video, right? Like I said, we're just checking to see if the forms errors dot contains key. We're checking to see if it contains this key. If it does, we are gonna get into this JavaScript section here, where it's gonna first remove that zero border there, that styling, that class called border.0, which is a Bootstrap class, by the way, and then we're gonna add 3 more classes. This just gives us the red border around our form field. This what you call it, exclamation mark here, this one, that is showing there because of this invalidate class that we are also adding. And then the border is red. I mean, there's going to be a border, and then the border is going to be red. So I'm basically going to copy this and do exactly what we just did for all the other fields. Just remember, this dot contains key. We have access to it because it is a method within this errors dot this errors object here. Again, as you can see, we have various methods. There's the contains key right there, as you can see. So this is that contains key that we're accessing on the front end, or in the view, is an object of the hash map, is a method of the hash map object. So I'm just trying to explain that for those of you who are maybe wondering where that's coming from. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to pause the video, and then I'm going to do the rest, this for the rest of the other fields. Just remember to rename the fields. My ones are not named correctly. As you can see, all the IDs are floating input. So just remember to change the IDs of the input field to, for example, I'm going to change mine to last name, the other one to email, the other one to password, etc, etc, etc. So let me just pause the video, quickly do that, do the same on your side, and then I will see you guys in a moment. One moment for me, please. Alright guys, I'm back. So I'm done with our validation fields. So again, I just renamed my IDs to be unique to each and every one of my input fields, and then here within JavaScript I'm accessing them. At the top here, I should have named, you see these keys here within the file. I should have named them the exact same way as the input fields, but it's fine. It's only the first name and last name that are just not correct. But yeah, just make sure the key that you're getting is whatever you named within this input, within this key over here. Alright, so I'm done on my side. I need to stop the server and rerun it again, and then we will check to see if all fields are then gonna start showing errors and stuff. Okay, so let's rerun it again. Okay, I'm gonna just refresh here. So if I click sign up, The email is not showing. Why? What did I do here? Last name. Oh, I didn't set the email field. Apologies. Okay, just need to change that to email. Alright, but in any case, you get the gist. If any of the fields are empty, as you can see, we're getting all the error messages here. If I do that, until I fill in some stuff, then it's gonna just show the error message. So if I say, let's say John, for example, right? Because this field is not empty, the first name field error message shouldn't show, and the first name field shouldn't show a red border. So again, I'm gonna say sign up, and as you can see, it doesn't show there. And then as you can see, the border is not red anymore because we added a value. So which means that when the application got to this part, it saw that the first name field wasn't empty. It didn't need to set this error message. That is why we're not seeing it at the front end. But here's another problem. As you can see, I put in John, but the message is, after I click submit, the name goes. If I say John Doe sign up, you see the names are going. So we need to fix this part as well. So what I need to do now, I'm going to start the server, and then I'm going to come within the sign up controller. So in the sign up controller here within our if block, I'm going to do this. I'm going to say this dot page dot add object, right? And then I'm going to say, what am I going to call this? I don't want to call it form data. Should I call it form data? Yeah, let's just call it form data. In fact, let's do it in our string helper here. So So everywhere we're gonna have a form, we're gonna name it the same, so might as well just create that. So I'm gonna call this general helper dot form data, and then I'm just basically gonna get this whole object here, right? So I'm just gonna say validate. So this is gonna return everything that we're getting from the first name, last name, that we are getting from the request objects or the request parameters. So now within the form, what we just need to do, I'm going to test first with the first name and last name field. So all I have to do is say value equals to we're just going to use the same expression, and then we're going to call that obviously form data, and then what we have to say is first. So remember, the name that you're gonna get here, this form data, is this object here. So now remember, within the sign up validations, this is how we named the property. So we have to get this exact same name property in here. You would think we would need to get that name using the methods. For example, what happened here? Why didn't I get? You would think that we would need to get the get last name or get first name methods, but we actually don't have to do that. We have to use the property itself, which is this here, first name. So I'm gonna say data dot first name, and I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna place this one in the last name field, change that to last name. Okay, I named it wrong, value. Let me copy this. I'm gonna do the same for the email as well. Where's the email? This is the email. As for the password, I'm not gonna do that. You know what? Actually, let's do it. Let's do it. Password. So we need to name this confirm data. Right. So let's rerun the application. So basically, what we were doing now is that when we write John Doe or John or the name, last name or email or whatever, when we do write the names in there and the page returns or refreshes to this page, we're just doing that so that we don't lose whatever we typed in before. So let's check, is the server running? It is running. So if I refresh this, I'm going to say continue. You see, now we're not losing the names. So let me refresh again. I'll say Steven, and then right. So if I say submit, at least now whatever we input the last time stays there. Now the email is showing. Now as you can see, even with the errors, we're only getting the ones that were not that didn't satisfy the criteria. So whenever we add like say John Doe or Sam Smith, an example, as you can see, only the confirm and password fields are not showing. Alright, so that's enough. Let's get to the part where we need to what you call it, let's complete the other two validations. So remember, here we need to check if the passwords match. If they don't match, and then we have to also check the emails to see if it's a valid email. Alright, so let's start with the email. That should be the easiest one. So what do we need to do here? So we're gonna say if, right, and then here we're gonna say general help string helper dot regex validation email, and then we're gonna say this dot get email, and then we're checking to see if that matches. If it doesn't, we're just gonna set the error message. Right, we're gonna say email. We're gonna name it the exact same thing. Here we'll say please insert, or rather please enter a valid email address. Alright, and then here we're gonna check for the passwords to see if they match. Right, so here we're gonna say if, we're gonna say this dot get password, get password, right, we're gonna say dot equals, right, and then we're gonna say this dot confirm. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, equals, there's this one that says ignore case. Don't do that. Make sure you use the equals one, otherwise that one will ignore if the person entered a password with capitals or whatnot, and it's always not going to match, and then it'll always return true, so it might just pass that stage. So just make sure you get the correct one. Get confirm, sorry. And then here we're just gonna add two input fields. We're gonna put this one, right, and here we're just gonna say passwords do not match. Now for the confirm field to also be marked with a red border like this one, we need to add it as well, but I'm gonna set the message to null. We don't need to see it. because we are already giving the message here saying that the fields do not match. So therefore we don't need to add a message here. It'll just our check here will just add a red border around the field. That's all, but the message will just be passwords do not match. Alright, so we've completed these two methods. Remember, we need to call both of them within our constructed passwords. Check if passwords do not match, check if email is valid, and that's pretty much it. So let's run it again. Alright, so if I were to enter now, you'll see if I click this, there's going to be a whole lot of error messages. For example, okay, the empty ones. So let's say John Doe, right? And if I do that, we get that. So now let's put in password 123. If you check, that's what I did there, right? Password 123. This one I'll say password 1234, right? If you check there, it's 1234. This one is 123. So we should get an error message that says passwords do not match. Well, we're getting it now, but in any case, if I do that, fields cannot be empty. Well, oh, my apologies. I made a mistake. So here we have to say, we have to put this exclamation mark. We're checking if this equals to that. If it doesn't, then set these error messages here. If it does, because obviously it was equaling to true, but here we're just checking to see if it equals that the password and the confirm field are equal to each other. If not, set the error message. If it's not equal, set the error message. That's what I'm trying to say. Alright, the server is running. Let's try again. So let's see. Okay, passwords cannot be fake. Please confirm field cannot be empty. Last name, email. Alright, 123 password. I'm seeing way more error messages. 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, that's fine. John Doe, right? And then we say sign up. Now 3 more fields. Now let's start with the passwords to see if our password validation method works. Password 123 234. So this one is 1234, so we should get that error message here, and these 2 fields should still be marked. Alright, passwords do not match, as you can see there. Alright, so now if I remove the 4, right, the only field that we should see is the email one. So if I do that, as you can see, only the email field is marked as red. So which means that our validation for checking to see if the passwords match is working. Now before we get to this one, I want us to just modify, because if everything is a success, as you can see, we didn't actually complete our method here. It will return some blank page. So what I want to do is I'll say if it passes this stage, we're just going to return to this page here, but we still need to do the same thing here. So I'm just going to copy that for now. We're obviously not going to do this later on, but I'm just copying this for now. Then I'm going to say this dot add this page dot add object. We're going to call general helper dot we need success. Then here we'll just say alright, that's all we're gonna say. So now, because we have this success, where is it? This one here. We should see this success message, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna return to the sign up page, and then I just wanted to show up here as soon as our email is correct. But I need to start the server. right? So now we've tested the we've tested our passwords method. Now we're just checking the email one, right? So I'm gonna rerun it again. Let's just refresh. So the email part, okay, let me say John Doe. I'm gonna skip this part for now, and then the password, I'm just gonna make sure that they are both the same, right? So if I say sign up, the only one that we have now is the email. So if I say John Doe, for example, I'm gonna remove the .com, right? Let's see. Okay, that expression passes. Let me remove this part, right? Say sign up. Oh, damn it. Where's the email field? Looking for the email field. Okay. Okay, so because of that, I want to copy this part. Test something. One second for me, please. Okay, so I was just testing on a different browser. So this part is going to be a bit of a hindrance because then now it's not allowing us to pass. I'm pretty sure we can disable that, but there's no time for that. Let me see if I do 1, 2, 3. Okay. In any case, I was looking to test this particular. Let me see, 1, 2, 3 at gmail.com. Let's see. Okay, so that part is working. Let me put in John Doe. So if I say sign up, okay, so that validation works. So looks like we're not allowed to have any numbers from that expression. Let me just check again. No, it's here. Okay, so it has to start with words and then numbers, not let's see if we try underscore. Okay, that works. So I guess it depends on how we set up the expression here. So like I said, I don't remember this off by heart. I just look for one that works, but obviously this might need to be revisited if you're using the same expression. Maybe let's say in a live production, you might need to rework this, but the expression does what you call it, the validation does work to an extent, but then again it solely depends on our expression here, and this is just for the email field, right? So okay, so sign up. So the only thing that's wrong here is the email. Obviously if you put in the correct type of email, it'll say wait, what? johndoe@example.com, please enter a valid email. Why is that refusing now? That's odd. But if I remove that, not working. Oh, that's really odd. Let me try that again. Let's see what that's gonna do now. Enter a valid email. So clearly that expression doesn't work as it should. Let me remove the doll. Yeah, okay, that expression needs to change. Something isn't right here. But in any case, I hope you get the idea. Let me just validate with my other project. Hold on. Yeah, I might need to revisit this part here. But then that's for another video. But in any case, I hope you understand what I was trying to do here. So I just need to fix this expression, but we'll do that within the next video. But in any case, because we can't register with a funny email address, like this is not the correct format, then please enter. Yeah, that's not right. But in any case, guys, I think I'll end the video here. It's a bummer this part didn't work, but I hope you understood what I was trying to do here. We basically just created our own validations. You could add other methods here to do other checks, right? And then all you have to do is just add them here within the constructor, and then they'll get initialized, and then just set your errors whichever way you need to do. But at the very least, our form at the moment, we do have some validations. The only thing that's left now is to process the registration form going forward. We'll look at the issue of sending emails within the next part. But yeah, right now I'm just gonna once I'm done with the video, I'm just gonna recheck this validation help, this expression here, because something isn't right here, and then I'm gonna end the video here. That's it for now. Thanks again for watching, guys. I really appreciate the support, and I'll see you guys within the next video. Thanks again. Cheers for now.